it's Maria Tran here at Art Full Impact, a very brand new podcast, videocast, talking to lots of different creators from around the world in all the things that they are doing in their space in the time that they have at the moment. So I'm here with Tran, who is
Hi.
a really cool individual who has been a part of Phoenix Eye, is an independent filmmaker, creative, slashy as well, based in Western Sydney. She helps a lot of other people get into creativity. So it's really exciting to be able to have this conversation with her, because we want to kind of have a moment to see what's going on, what projects are we up to, and how she's feeling with creativity in Australia, as well as some of the challenges people face when it comes to getting this stuff out there. So, Therese,
Yes.
tell us what in a nutshell, what have you been up to?
Okay, so well, I originally started in, I suppose, the film industry as an editor, but I've been slowly moving my way into becoming a producer, as well as trying to get my screenwriting skills up to snuff, because I have a lot of ideas, but the only way for me to actually get my ideas off the ground is for me to actually write it. So I've got a script, because whenever you're making a film, you've got to start there. But aside from that, I have my own collective, I suppose, called Silver Harvest. So I've been recently in talks with an organization. Well, it used to be called ICE, but now it's called the Arts Cultural Exchange, because we've been bouncing back and forth pitching. But basically what we represent, which I suppose in a nutshell is the next, well, I'm being very ambitious, but I say why not shoot for the stars anyway. The next Golden Harvest, but based in Sydney. So they're very excited to do that, because they're always keen about representing minority groups, and in our case the martial arts genre, because that's been very exciting, and that could be a separate discussion that kind of can tell onto this whole podcast, because I think there's been a very interesting revival on the end. But in that case, aside from that, I also run my own YouTube channel. So it's called TC Talk. So I normally use it for reactions to new trailers, which is one of my other ambitions, is to try and get people knowing about movies that aren't the Hollywood mainstream. So in my instance, it's about movies that are from other countries, predominantly Asia, Southeast Asia, and I guess it's just getting discussions flowing for predominantly, in particular, Australian creators and filmmakers, because that's not something, and I suppose that could be, we can get into this, not until you get into a high level, which I have issues with. But for me, it's always, you need to get into the ground, start somewhere from the ground floor. So yeah.
So when you talk about issues, what's some of the challenges you feel like you face internally, externally, when it comes to creative output and getting your stuff out there?
Okay. So for me, one of the biggest externals is fighting the very strong urge to compare your work with other people's. And I know this because before I was doing the film stuff with the camera, I was doing more digital art stuff. So I remember distinctly doing a concept art course, because prior to this, I had ambitions to, be a storyboard artist or concept artist. So do the backgrounds and do storyboard sketching, basically developing previs for where things are shot, for those that don't know. And this is no, commentary on other people, because I know it's all in my head. But when you see other people do their artwork, and very often they are a younger age than you, and they're always so savvy on, for example, digital equipment, which I personally had to, get used to, because I'm so used. My go-to has always traditionally been pen and paper. So trying to get used to the tablet and the textures and the complex, the nuances with that was a learning curve. But to get to my, original point, to see other people do their work and their work is spectacular, it's very easy. It's very, very easy to get into the mindset, I'm not good enough, why should I even bother? And even when no one else is commenting, like saying that at all, you come with that yourself very, very easily. And it's a regular battle to say, no, you have to shut that voice off in your head and just do it anyway. Because it's not about, it is about quality, but it's also about distinctness and being unique and showing your voice, which is something that I tell myself, which is why I keep going inside of this. But yeah, as far as external, I think it's not an unknown secret as far as the arts and in particular the film industry is concerned in Australia, it's tiny. And I suppose it does have its advantages in terms of everybody knows each other. So in that sense, it can be a hub, a close-knit, but only if people are supporting each other in that sense. And in many instances, that doesn't happen, if only because they view it as competition. And that is because in Australia, of the way that, films are funded and financed. So so for me personally, when it comes to, doing short films with, my friends, that has not been a challenge for me personally because I've been, fortunate enough to have found people that are on the same wavelength as me. And we have the same vision of the films that we want to create. And that's it. And we can do it just based on pure energy and not on desire for name recognition and, financial gain. But I do know at the back of my head that once you, start thinking about bigger budgets, much higher, finance features, you have to start thinking about marketing. You have to think, internationally, because it's not just, I always knew this because Silver Harvest is an international brand, I should say, because the martial arts genre is much bigger in overstates, in the United States, even in Asia, than it is in Australia. But once you think of bigger budgets, it's a lot harder for people to get. It's a bigger challenge to get people invested just based on finances, and that is going to be much more difficult in Australia than, say, obviously in Hollywood, United States. If only because of lack of, we have a smaller population as well, because I think the census just said that we're up to like 27 million in comparison to, was it 200?
300.
300. It's basically 10 times alone. So we've got that, and then not to mention the Chinese box office market, which is a whole nother, discussion entirely. So yeah, we're a very small, island in the grand thick of it. So just trying to get your stuff out there and stuff is a challenge. And then, we can have a discussion about the nepotism, I suppose, when it comes to when you apply for, these grants and the chances of getting it when you haven't even got the proper names according to them under your belt. It's hard.
It's like a catch-22, eh? And on top of that,
it is.
You're always going to be faced with like labels thrown at you, and then having to wear these labels. And
it is. And on the one hand, I can understand, because what they are trying to do, all this, what they're saying that they're trying to do, is they want to amplify voices that, haven't been represented. So, for Australia, I suppose, I've been very fortunate that I grew up in a Western Sydney, which is very, very, has a very, very mixed demographic in terms of ethnicity. If you look at what is on mainstream TV, you don't really, traditionally you have not seen this. So they are trying to amplify those voices in terms of, gender, race, everything else. I think what I've been personally found is, unintentionally or not, what they do is it kind of encourages creatives to think along that lens. So for them to push forward the fact that they are a certain identity. In order to get the funding, they have to push forward that label and make it an important element into their identity. Even though for many individuals, including myself, it may not be that important. But because they want to support those fund, I'm hoping that I'm making sense in what I'm saying.
Because like even for me, when I'm over here in the US, like I'm meeting people and connecting, and like in the US, a lot of the narratives are going a little bit forward. Like they're like, oh, we don't want it to be on the nose, and we don't want it to be kind of like, it's a bit outdated if you put issues at the front and not have the complexities of a story to encapsulate it, rather than just putting an issue, funding or putting grants into certain demographics just because you think you are doing a service for that demographic, but they're not realizing that it's just not a label, and a label shouldn't pop out so that when you watch the film as a person who is not experiencing it will be like, oh, I feel good that we are actually put money into this film. And I do find that like that people who identify with certain like labels, they might be like, that's not real. Like, why would that happen? Why would this story be like this? But it's obvious that it is appeasing to certain maybe
and
I don't know.
That's a whole nother topic entirely. But I guess I don't know if there is a clear-cut solution for this, if only just to encourage, the art of storytelling at its core. And that is, and one of the things I like about working with you, Maria, is that you do ask the very difficult questions about who you are and why is it that you do, so you know the direction that you're going, or at least have the awareness of what your actions are leading you to, for better or for worse, because we are all human. But I think if you're conscious of basically the reasoning of why you want to tell the story that you're so invested in, that goes a long way. But unfortunately, and I think this is one of the reasons why I work at the moment to be a producer, is because it is all about pitching, about why the story is important. And unfortunately, that is a learned skill. It's not something that everybody has, intuitively. The art of communication. And we can, go on a tangent about, for me, being, is a first generation. Well, basically, I was born here, but my parents weren't. So, already there is a barrier of language that I have to navigate. And even then, trying to be that expressive, again, is a learned skill too. So that's just something that I'm trying to learn. And if I could encourage, if all those bodies, those funding bodies are listening, if by chance they're listening to me now, it's just give the skills of people to learn how to speak. If you're doing that, you'll see, I can always guarantee that there'll be an explosion of creativity and the diversity that they are seeking. Because I do think diversity is a good thing, but you have to be able to encourage it from the ground up first.
Yeah, and I think,
and not just go for a select view.
Yeah, and also like you just can't kind of go, oh, it has to be a certain level of diversity. Like maybe creatives who really hold on to the labels, go, yes, this is who I am. But what about people? Where are they? I feel like there is a bit of a it's not a balance. And I feel like there's some people out there who know how to navigate the funding system, right? The grant system, like to a T, and they keep on getting it time and time again, where people who really do have sensibilities in storytelling and they have an array of skills, they go under radar. And I would probably you are one of them that I find that, I personally think you should be getting funding. I personally think you should be cleaning it up. But for some reason I feel, and I totally, this is what I do, really respect what you do. You do really navigate and go, you know what, this is how I feel. No, I don't want it to be me holding this label. How do we work around it? Blah, blah, blah. So we always have that conversation to make sure that we are telling a story that is really true to how you feel without having it like a violin trauma story that, you don't want to go. And it's always a very good exploration, because the stories that you want to tell are stories of empowerment, not necessarily the sad stories that maybe mainstream want to see. And I think even the process of even us discussing that is actually quite interesting, because it gives us an idea of what is actually going on in the system. But anyway, changing topics, everything, everywhere, all at once. How do you feel?
Yes.
This film is a freaking disruptor. Fantasy, martial arts, all Asian, winning the Oscars. What does that mean to you when something like this?
Well, for me, I just have to give my congratulations to everybody involved. Not only to Michelle Yeoh, but I hope I don't mess up his name, Key, and definitely James Hong, because he has been in the film industry in Hollywood for 70 years, if not longer. And I am just glad that he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves, and everyone else. So I do have to, give props for that and making the Oscars. And I have read that the viewership for the Oscars has been up.
Wow.
Since the last 3 years. So I think that should at least say something. I think it does. So I think hopefully it does give good news for basically just injecting a new energy into what the Oscars represent, or what they should.
Wow.
They should represent.
And at the moment, I've been watching the Oscars, and I've noticed there was a commonality between the speeches, especially when it came to like Everything Everywhere. When they came up and they won their awards, it was always about like the collective experience, the family, which is quite unique, because I feel like for something that is such a low budget, they made it on like 14 mil, really low budget for what they bloody put up like onto
that is impressive.
That's crazy, right? They're beating the studio system. They're beating like multi-million-dollar productions. And it was funny, I even saw their editor who won Best Editing. He actually
on Premiere Pro.
Yeah, he uploaded what program he was using.
Yeah.
It got to me. I'm like, oh my God, they're just kind of like we're like that. We're like working together with creatives who really believe in projects, and we put all our energy, all our hearts into it. And even though the film might look like it's made from different visual effects company, but this is one guy I felt like that was so deserving to be able to win. And the fact that these guys they worked with each other for so long, for more than 10 years on various music videos and short films and really quirky ideas. I would probably say ideas, I'll be like, what the hell? But they believed in it and they put it out there. So for you, when you see something like that, do you feel like there is more hope? There's more like a pathway for us to now navigate, that we can be who we are without changing ourselves to fit in with the industry?
It's funny. I think this is something that I've always told myself right from the get-go, and I always say, with the way that films are made has changed quite a lot since 200 years, especially in the last 10, if only because of the introduction of the internet and social media. So people can make films effectively right from the other side of the globe, and they don't even need to be in the same room, for better or for worse. So I just think this is just another vindication of this. But I think for me, it's just the guys at the Oscars, people want to see original content. They want to see something new and interesting. For the love of everything good and decent, please take that chance on ideas that are unique, because I assure you that there is an audience for that, even if you don't believe it just yet. You will see the returns. You just have to, trust that there is someone that wants to see a unique vision. That's the main takeaway I see in this, because it is a very original movie. It's a very much of a mind trip. If you guys haven't had the chance to, see it, it's very unique. But right, I am very grateful that there are like the little guy can actually go through. We'll see what happens next. They're all actually, I mean, it is funny because a lot of the same cast, the three main, the parents, Michelle, are in the new series, American Born Chinese.
Yeah.
So they're going to be working together again quite soon.
That's clever. They're really starting to pave the way to not only just do one thing, but roll on to the next thing, which is really exciting to see. Now, final topic is I want to talk about our Warriors documentary. Let's our audience know what we've been up to with that, what we have shot, who we have shot, and what was your experience working with that person? So,
well, so Warriors is basically how do I explain, a corollary to a performance piece that we did at the Art Gallery in New South Wales. And in this section, Warriors we're basically collecting video footage and voices of lots of women that are warriors, not only in the physical but the intellectual and emotive sense. So for now, are we allowed to reveal who we've got? Yes. Okay. So I was really excited that we got the chance to basically have Cynthia Rothrock in that lineup. And I know that there is a saying, don't need your idols, because sometimes they end up, not being who you thought they were, and it can be very disappointing. In this case, no, she was, very, very down to earth. And despite the fact that, we were working in almost, in my mind, 30-degree heat, and she was wearing like the black gear, she was a very good sport about, taking all that on and, doing all the moves that we wanted. So it was, fantastic actually getting to, meet such a famous actress in person. And I am glad that she's taken upon herself to basically make her own, own movies now and be, just try and do other things aside from acting. So I'm excited to see where that goes. But yeah, I really am excited about this, project on a personal level, because I'm always on the lookout for women that can kick ass on screen in the martial arts genre. So that's something that I'm very, I have a very soft spots for. So if this encourages women, especially in Australia, then I'm on for it, because, we can always use more of that. There's never enough.
Yeah, that's great. Now for you, like, once you met someone like Cynthia Rothrock, and do you feel like now you are, you're a maker, because you're not only a maker who is just in Western Sydney making stuff with a group of friends, but now that you have this like trajectory that whatever our 6 degrees of separation with whoever we want to meet is such a possibility, right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, because I don't think that truth has actually hit me yet. The fact that I've met someone that has been on how many movies, has met with Yeonbyo and Sammo Hung and Ko Yoon, all these names that I always thought were so far away out of reach, and then you realize that the world is a lot smaller than you think. So it's very, very encouraging, and it feels good, for lack of a better phrasing, to know that one, you can be a little pebble, but then there's a ripple effect, and you can actually reach the people that you want to. So yeah, we can only go up from here, is how I see it.
Oh, final thing. Your upcoming projects, creative ventures, do reveal to us what they are, and
right
about it. What's some of the challenges and some of the steps that you're winning?
Okay, so yeah, what do I begin? Okay, so as far as Silver Harvest is concerned, be on the lookout for a short film called Oh Fair Stranger. So this is a really fun short that I have a personal connection to, because I do have a passion for the musical genre, and we are sort of and it does seem like a very large deviation from the action stuff that you might be used to. So we did Battle of Brothers, and we did Dragon of the Law. So that's very, very much in, the kick-ass martial art genre. And you might be thinking, we're making a show that's basically our homage to Singing in the Rain and La La Land. How odd. But you'd be surprised as to how connected those two genres are, because of the skill and choreography. It's, especially when you look at on screen, martial arts fighting is dance. It involves a partnership between all the, all the participants. In the dance sequence, it's very, very, similar. So, we are in basically in the midst of post-production. So do check out for that, because I do hope that the trailer will be dropping soon. And some more featurettes. On my personal front, I am working on a script, and there is there's a couple, one called Antiros, which is, how do I describe it? I suppose when I think of the romantic comedy genre, my mind goes into very interesting places. This is more of a comedy genre delving with, the supernatural. So if you're familiar with the movie called City of Angels, which starred Meg Ryan and Nicolas Cage, it's very much in dealing with, seeing the connections with humans, angels, and each other. So as you can guess, I mean, the struggle with that is, well, for one, it was my idea. So I was the one that was basically pushing that rock off the cliff. So if you're not motivated, it just stays there and it doesn't happen. And you can, I'm very guilty of having, ideas that I've stuck on for years. I can't say that I'm proud of it, but I need to, this is me acknowledging out in the social media either that this is what I've been doing, for better, for worse. And I'm probably not the only one that does this, but nevertheless, that is my accountability. It's, the other issue, as you can probably imagine, is that it requires CGI, because it does require wings and halos and all those things. That is a logistic problem, which for me means reduce the number of times I need that to its barest minimum, and just have it so it's implied, so I don't need to go full out and spend the budget on this. But it is something that I feel like at the very least I'm getting pushed to the next stage of the script. So for me, when it comes to script writing, it comes in many iterations. So the first draft is never the last one. So I'm just doing my best to get that across the line. So yeah, it's exciting. Aside from that, always look out for my YouTube channel. And I have a Facebook page called Tricia Actress, which I do have plans to actually try and reactivate in terms of, my singing and, my acting monologues on that. But yeah, those are my two main channels. So if you're keen on my creative output, always be posted on that.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Therese, for joining in with Artful Impact and sharing some of your, processes and your ups and downs, but being so honest. And that's what I'm starting to realize, that the more honest we are, the more we get down to the bottom of things, and we can still continue to create, because there's no barrier.
It's been good. So often it's not the right answer, right or wrong. It's about the truth, and that's just it. But I'm really excited to see who you have on next. To be honest on this, so I'm so thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.